Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Killjoys and Dark Matter. So in this episode of Killjoys, we picked up right where last week's episode ended off with the whole Sabine situation. It's like, yep, she is in fact a level 6. I do like the whole situation about how they handled it, though. It's like, okay, why is Sabine here on Lucy in a body bag? And it's like, yep, she's a level 6. It's kind of funny in a twisted way. It's kind of like Devon is kind of, his entire body is a loaded weapon, even his penis. That's kind of the whole thing. It's kind of like, yeah, we're going to have to kind of wrap that up. Because the fact of the matter is, Johnny was joking about that because he's like, this is the second time something like this kind of happened. Because, after the first time you and Dutch had sex, yeah, kind of went crazy and fought her. And it's like, now I come in here, there's a girl laying on the floor, and, it's like, did you kind of black out again? He's like, no, I didn't. So it's kind of interesting. I guess, like, it's a natural phenomenon with his body, like, because I was wondering, like, about that, whether he wants to or not, his body will subconsciously do that. I guess unless he's focusing, he can't stop himself from naturally rejecting it because of the experiments the military performed on himself. But that was just kind of interesting because we ended up learning more about it too. And what made it so fascinating is the fact of the matter is the green plasma inside of them activates with something that's implanted into their brain, essentially. There's something that implants itself in certain parts of their brains. That's why they act so cold and calculating. Like, basically, they don't show any emotions. They don't get close to people. They don't really care. Like, that side of their brain is kind of shut off to make them into the perfect killing machines, to make them the perfect psychopaths. As the show better phrase it, specifically Devon phrased it like that. But it seems like Devon, when he did what he did, ended up draining the plasma out of Sabine, and it meant the thing inside of her head like reduced a little bit, but it's only a temporary fix because as time went on, it slowly but surely, came back and filled her brain. So it makes you wonder, like, does the plasma naturally refill itself in someone's body? Like, not all the plasma was poured out of her body. I think there was still trace amounts of it still in her system. So I guess unless you completely flush a person's system, there's no way of really, completely stopping it. So it did seem like for a second I was like, oh, Devon's the cure, but it's like, no, he is, but he's like a temporary cure. Granted, it would mean he has to basically stick his penis into every person that might be a level 6, which, in kind of going off topic, but it kind of reminds me of Misfits a little bit. Was his name Alex? Was it like in the final season? Basically, Alex had the power to screw people's powers away. That was his power. Like, he ended up having surgery and ended up getting a transplant from someone. And as you know, in that series, when you transplant one person with superpowers, organs to another person with superpowers, specifically, I think it's the heart, is what happened in both cases in this series. Basically, someone ended up getting, 2 cases, someone else ended up getting that superpower. And his superpower ended up being, like, he could screw powers away. So that was kind of interesting. So I was thinking, like, maybe it could work like that. But, other than that, there was, but it seems like maybe eventually Devon can learn how to control it. Like, he can pull and repel the green goo. Maybe eventually, given enough time, he can train himself to, like, literally pull it out of a person's body without having to go as far as having sex with them. He can just naturally draw it out. I don't know, a current thought process. There is another way to kill level 6s, brain damage, extensive brain damage will kill them. So they basically follow zombie rules. So that's kind of interesting. Granted, they're a lot faster than zombies. And their brains are still intact to the point, like, they can think logically and tactically. So, and what I really found interesting is the fact is that Dutch was so readily, it was like, oh, I'm going to torture you to get this information. You're the first 6 that we've been able to capture. You're in your weakened state. And at this point in time, it's like, yo, you could die. Like, because like, how long has it been since you felt pain? Because that kind of got brought up, wasn't it, last episode? Because Klein was in Devon's body, or was that the episode before last? Nevertheless, he was in Dev's body, and first he was like, ooh, I haven't felt pain in so long, and eventually it was just like, okay, pain, the novelty's worn off, and it's like Sabine is 80 years old, so that was kind of interesting. But the fact is that she was just so readily available, ready to just torture her. And then Devon had to be one to be like, okay, I get it. I'm pissed at her because she used me. But even I'm telling you, you need to calm down. She's like, I'm sorry. I just can't help it. Like, I can't forgive her for the fact is that she used you, which is kind of sweet because, you know, even having a whole conversation about how the whole thing happened with Sabine, it's like, oh yeah, we were having sex when it happened. You saw it, like, that's just kind of like, oh, okay, which is interesting. It's like, let's not, I mean, she's not going to mince words. I mean, she knows that she was off having sex with Alvis, so it's not like that big of a deal, but still, it's kind of that situation Pri was talking about. It's like, you're not really okay with someone being with, you know, you don't want to be with them. I feel like technically Dutch does, but it's just everything going on. She just can't bring herself to be with him. Maybe there's a part of her that doesn't want to, because of what Sabine said. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But she wants to be with him, but she pushes him and wants to keep him at a distance. But that doesn't mean she wants him dating. She doesn't want him with anybody else. So, but I mean, it kind of worked out for her in a twisted sense because it's like, well, he's kind of single again. Granted, you hooked up with Alvis, so I don't know whether that's like just a friends with benefits type of situation, or is that a little bit more? I mean, it seems like they have their own past anyway, so maybe that's just them picking up where they've left off before. Maybe it's, you know, maybe it's been a flirtatious relationship without all the romantic aspects to it. Who knows? Maybe there's no intimate feelings there. I feel like maybe there are, but you know, you never know with the situation. The point I was trying to get to earlier when I was talking about Sabine is the fact is Sabine was basically saying like everything Klein's done towards you, like he was breaking you down and training you mentally, because basically the whole six process isn't just a physical process, it's also a mental process because it will mess with your mind. That's why most people don't live through the transition, because it breaks them mentally as well as physically. And it's like everything Klein's been doing, he's been training you, was to prepare you to become a level 6. She was saying in her case, you know, people like her who are very, I guess, antisocial fit the bill. Like you've already kind of got like a more because basically the whole process makes you cut ties with everyone you care about. It makes you numb to them and just kind of makes them erased from your mind to the sense of any attachment to them. And to them, they're just a person to you. There's no longer the connection of like, oh, you once meant something to me, because those feelings are gone because of the thing in their head that kind of blocks their feelings. So saying like, in its almost sense, it's kind of like basically those people are already dead to you. And it's like, when you're like, you know, when you're antisocial, you have less ties that need to be cut, so it makes you easier to assimilate with the plasma and whatnot. And basically everything Klein's done has been for the purposes of making you a level 6. I mean, she's talking about the fact is that Klein is different somehow. Basically, he's been there at the beginning, you know, the racks beginning, the whole thing with level 6's beginning. He was there at the beginning, yet he's different. He changed. Because he used to be like any other 6 following orders doing his thing. But the fact is, the moment he met Dutch, everything changed. He started to care. That all his actions are proof of that. He cares about Dutch. And he's even going to the extent, she said, that basically he's erased all information about her, all memories associated with her. So not even the 6s can use the green slime. Like he uses that to connect to other people. Like they can't even use that to search for stuff about Dutch, because he's already erased it, because he's keeping her hidden away from them. So even they don't know why she's so special to him, like what led to him becoming the way he really is right now. It's just, there's a lot of questions, but at the end we ended up finding out, like, all this being said and done, you know, Sabine being like, you're already there, that you're very already hollow on the inside. That's why we're so attracted to the Jacobys. I finally got back to the point I was making earlier, trying to make earlier, sorry. The fact of the matter is that they're intoxicating because they love so much and so hard, both Devon and Johnny. And because of that, people like them who lost touch with that feeling, it's kind of a, you know, it's kind of a, almost kind of like an aphrodisiac. It draws you in. You want to be close to them because you want to almost like remember what it feels like to care that much, to that much love and caring from another person. Like you want to feel that but she's like, it's already too late for, like, in my case. I mean, she was trying to hold on to what little bit of her self was there. I mean, because that's the whole reason why Devon let her go in the first place. Because he, she finally talked to him, being like, because she was kind of like, I understand what I am to you. I was just kind of like a hidden and quitted type of situation, just so you didn't have to deal with the whole Dutch thing. Which, like, maybe on some levels, but I think a little bit just because he naturally liked you, because he thought you were cute, liked your personality. You seem like a nice person. I mean, granted, I don't know if we really got to ever know the real you. I mean, how much of, like, who she was at the bar was her. It makes me wonder also what will Pre do now that his bartender is dead. That's kind of sad. I mean, granted, I did kind of like what Dutch said to her. It's like, I'm not, to kill her. It's like, I'm not killing you because I'm trying to, like, oh, I feel bad for you in this situation or something like that. She's like, because I just can't, because I look at you basically as a murderous machine. Like, you're just an outright weapon. And that's why she looks at her like that. But Devon being in a situation where he was almost turning to one, he understands where she come from, so that's why he was just so more lenient towards her than Dutch was. I mean, granted, he also looked at a situation of, like, they're not murderers. He's like, we can't just outright kill her. Like, basically, you are better than the person you used to be. I mean, that was him saying that to Dutch, like saying, like, if you kill her, you basically you're going to be backtracking, becoming the person that Klein forged you to be, And it's basically saying another way. Granted, she still Dutch had to put her down, because the fact of the matter is she was still in control now, but slowly but surely, like, she would eventually fully turn back into a level 6, and she would hunt them down, because she isn't just a regular level 6. She's not working for Klein, because the whole BS was like, oh, Klein wanted me to protect you from Dutch, and I'm like, wait, what does that mean? Like, I was like, I didn't understand that. I was like, I don't understand maybe protecting Dutch from Devon, keep them as far apart, just so that Devon stays more of a platonic safeguard. He's there to ensure her safety, because that's the whole reason why Klein wants him there. But it's kind of seemed back asswards to what he's kind of said he's wanted in the past. But it makes sense, because she was part of what's that group known as the Black Roots, the really deadly level 6s, the one that are hunting Klein, that had him before until Fantasy broke him out. But she didn't want to so basically meaning everything she said was complete and utter BS. So, granted, we don't really know whether she is dead or not, because his dad kind of brought the conversation up to Dutch and was asking her, like, okay, did you make sure she was dead? Like, you shot her in the head once, yeah, but did you make sure it was enough to, do serious brain damage? Did you stick around to make sure that she died? And she's like, no, but I'm giving her a fighting chance, just like Dad did. So basically, if she ends up living, okay. If she ends up dying, that's fine. But if she ends up living, I'm giving her a chance to kind of hopefully, fight her way away from her situation, that she can go on a run. Because right now she's not safe. Because now that the Black Root knows that she turned on them, kind of spilled some information, they're going to come after her. So, give her a chance to go after Klein, maybe. So, and then basically at the end of it all, with that situation we had, find out that cube, like, because I was wondering what that whole cube situation was going to be about. I was like, is that connected to the level 6s? I mean, on a far stretch, it kind of is, because basically it's a little safe house that Klein made specifically for Dutch. Because I was curious, because in his mind, when he was using the slime, him and Sabine were there in their minds, I was kind of like, okay, so it's rejecting them. So it's like, the fact is, it's rejecting them. It kind of works like the plasma, right? Well, specifically rejected Dav. So I was like, wait, is it like the slime? So he's kind of pushing it to make sure that he's able to push his way through. I mean, granted, when it was all said and done, he ended up bleeding out of his eyes and stuff like that. I mean, I'm quickly leaving out some stuff. I'm going to tack that back on nearing the end. But the fact is, we have that cube thing being like a safe house specific for her. There's weapons. She even found a box and ended up finding out in the box, it's like, yo, there's a name here. The next target. It's basically the other Dutch, whoever she is, the one that was on Arkin. So she's still alive, and Klein wants Dutch to kill her. So like that turns up like even bigger mystery, because it's like we still don't know who she is. Is she like Dutch's twin? Like what that whole connection is? Why does Klein want her dead? Is she dangerous? I mean, granted, like that's kind of a stupid question. She's very dangerous, but to what extent is she dangerous? Is she dangerous to the point Klein's like left alone, she can be a very big threat. Could she be a precursor to something even worse coming, you know? I almost let it completely slip my mind. Like, one of the most kind of sort of badass moments of the episode was that whole situation with Sabine. Like, again, basically the guy, the rack boss dude that basically brought in his like main torture dude, and his name was, he's like, I just refer to him as Phil, and it turned out Phil was actually there to kill Sabine just so she wouldn't talk. But that whole situation where she just like took the wiring from her cuffs and literally just sliced his head off, that was brutal. I think that's like the bloodiest thing that's happened in the show so far, is it? That was pretty intense. And she was up there holding the head, talking about sorry. It's like, really? Like, even Johnny was like, wait, sorry? Like, what the hell is going on there? And she's just standing there with his head in her arm. And then also in this episode, we also had Johnny's side of things, where we still have him keeping the team in the dark about the things him and Pawter are working on. Finally tracked down the lady who made the wall. And specifically, she was one of the people that helped build it. But granted, she said like the technology they used wasn't their own technology, it was someone else's. So the moment she started asking questions, they locked her in the old town, basically saying that stuff connected all this. There was like the old as well as the people who couldn't, fend for, essentially the old and disabled were basically massacred in a situation similar to Old Town with the whole wall situation. And the more young and able-bodied people were kind of taken off somewhere else, and she doesn't know where they were, like where the company took them. And even saying like that's why she got put in Old Town, because she was asking too many questions about that. And sadly, Johnny tried to break into, what was his name? He's the douchebag that held Pawter a couple episodes ago. Basically, Pawter implanted a bomb inside of him so that he couldn't leave. This dude ended up catching Johnny because it's like, Johnny wasn't protected by him being a RAC agent. It's like they wouldn't be able to, get him or hurt him because he's a RAC agent, but it's like they caught him doing something illegal, breaking into a high official's place, trying to steal documents and information. So they captured him, unfortunately for him, and sadly, Dutch and Devon have no idea about this. It makes you wonder, when it's all said and done, how are they going to feel about this whole situation? The fact is that Johnny's lied to them about what he's doing. Granted, at the end of it all, it's all for the greater purpose of, saving Old Town, but keeping them in the dark isn't a good idea, because it's something Devon pointed out in this episode, is like the fact of the matter is they come first. Like telling Dutch never question his loyalty, when he was let Sabine go. It's like, you guys will always come first. And yes, Johnny cares about them, but it's also, about protecting Old Town as well as the rest of Westerly from sharing the same fate. And it's like, you get where he's coming from, but it's like I still wish he would have confided in them, because it's like the situation is going from bad to worse. Because the fact of the matter is, like, now the RAC as well as the company are going to find out, like, yo, you were doing some shady crap. Most likely situations like this, he will most likely get killed, because you even had the lady who dishes out, their warrants. She the whole situation was fishy, because it's like, yeah, you're taking a warrant out by yourself, not informing Dutch or Devon, because he wanted to keep it quiet. But she's like, they deserve to know, like, whatever you're up to, basically you're going to be putting them in danger. Johnny, because basically this situation happened before, like basically at the beginning of the series when he took that warrant out, trying to rescue his brother. It put him and Dutch in a very compromising position that they barely got bailed out of. They could have easily been screwed over by that. But it's like, there might not be any bailout for Johnny this time. It's like, obviously when Dutch and Devon find out, they're going to try their best, but it's like they've got to deal with that jerk face, the one who's kind of in control of the whole situation with the wall. So granted, none of this would have happened if that lady didn't sell him out. The reason why she sold him out is because she panicked, and I guess she was worried that if he got caught, it was going to come back on her. And, I guess she figured if I tell, they might take it easier on me. But it's like, no, it looked like they still tortured her anyway, because it's like, why would they even know to look out for Johnny in the first place? So she kind of warned them. So that kind of sucks on that part. So I'm very interested to see where everything goes. Like, will Dutch actually kill this her, whatever that situation is? The whole thing with Devon, like, how this whole six thing is going to turn out. I don't, there's so many questions. Then the whole Pawter situation and John, it makes you wonder, because can Pawter actually do anything now that I'm thinking about? Even though she's risen to one of the nine, doesn't mean that she'll be able to do anything to help John, and because helping him would compromise her own position too. And it makes you wonder, like, considering their feelings for each other, like, what if, like, it's a situation where Pawter's like, I'm sorry, Johnny, I'm gonna have to sacrifice you because it means the greater good for Wesley. I mean, you never know, because in the situation she's in now, what she's doing, her actions don't just affect her, they affect a lot of people. So it's like, maybe she's like, I can't bail you out, Johnny, I'm gonna have to like, what if she ends up in a sad twist of fate, end up like turning her back on John, because it means she has to stay in everyone else's good graces so she can make sure she looks out for Wesley, even if it means sacrificing him. Kind of get the feeling, what if it's something like, Dutch and Devon are like, go to her and Lethan, Pawter, you gotta help us out though, John's situation. She's like, I can't. And Dutch blames her, being like, you're the one that kind of dragged him in this situation in the first place. So I mean, I feel like it could easily go that route. I kind of guessing it will. It most likely won't, because it's like, because I'm acting like I'm so adamant about it being like that. I guarantee it won't be, just to spite me. It's not like they're actively going to do that. I'm just being stupid. But really good episode, and can't wait to see more. And now moving on to this week's episode of Dark Matter, which we have a lot of stuff going down, some big reveals. Well, not really big, but small reveals here and there. The fact is, we had the whole Devon situation where basically him and Nix got into a conversation. Nix is like, I need something to take the edge off. And he's like, nope, can't let you do that. Drugs, they don't help. You might think it's going to help your situation. It's not. It doesn't help you kind of heal from whatever's plaguing you. And she's like, really? You're going to tell me that? She's like, I know you're using. Like, you think I can't tell a user? And he's like, okay, yes, I am. But the fact of the matter is, you should take my advice better than anyone else. The fact of the matter is, I'm telling you not to means you really shouldn't, because I know exactly what I'm talking about. And she was just like, give me the meds. So he kind of caved in and gave in to her. But luckily she didn't take them, because there was that whole situation with the android, which also, it's always so interesting when you see her acting very human, even without the upgrade fully activated within her. Like, you see that side of her that is very remorseful. Like, she's like, I'm sorry about the whole situation with your brother. I just want you to know that you're not on a ship alone. Like, we've all felt that pain. She's like, you've lost brothers. She's like, no, but we've lost one. And Nix was like, I heard about it. She's like, one might not have been family, but losing him, it was still, and she paused and was like, hard. And it's just like, you hear her choking up a little bit. It's like, she's so human-like, and it's just, it almost kind of broke my heart hearing her saying, like, it's like, it shows you just how important one was to her as well, because they, as dysfunctional as they are a family, and losing even one of them, it's very heartbreaking, and it takes its toll. And that kind of spoke to Nix, because like, no matter what the situation is, even no matter how things work out with your brother, like, you think you won't ever see your brother again, but no matter what the situation is, know that you're not alone, that you don't have to carry this like sadness and this weight alone. We're here for you too. Which made her kind of think back to it and decided not to take the pills. She ended up, whatever the meds were, and she ended up giving them back to Devon. We ended up seeing him kind of like, which led to another interesting conversation where, like, Devon's basically like in front of the machines that the crew woke up in back at season 1, the one that wiped their memories. And it's like, they went into these, woke up, and lost all their memories. Like, do you know how beautiful that is? Like, being able, that way you can escape your past. But Nix was like, yeah, you might be able to mentally escape your past. You might be able to wipe the memories from your head, but it doesn't mean you actually escape your past. Your past will always come back to haunt you. Look at the Raza crew. Their memories got wiped. They went looking for their past, and they found the trouble that they're currently in. The trouble they're in right now is because they went looking for their past, because their past came looking for them too. It's like, no matter what, even if you erase your own memories, your past still exists. So even though they're not the bad guys they used to be, their past as bad guys will forever haunt them. That's why so many people want them taken down. And then that ended up leading to us finally finding out the truth about Devon, which kind of already pieced it together, but basically it was a surgery gone wrong. But we ended up finding out basically he was on a ship, because it's not like using was a new thing to him more recently. He's been doing it for a while. Basically, he was a doctor on board a ship. The ship got hit by asteroids or whatever and was damaged. A lot of people got hurt. And he was able to help a lot of them. But then it came to this 12-year-old girl that he was performing surgery on. And then he got the shakes. He got high, trying to ease himself out, steady himself and, calm himself down. But he apparently gave himself a little too much, tried to take a little off the edge, but ended up taking too much off the edge, whatever the situation may be. Sadly, the little girl died, and that's what he regrets. 6 months of like him staying clean, just kind of repenting for that, but he just couldn't completely shake it because everywhere he looked, he always kept seeing her face, and that just kind of caused him to use like. Nyx basically told him it wasn't going to be easy. Like, no matter what your situation is, it's not going to be something easy. And in a sense, I kind of agree. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be hard. Like, because kind of learning to forgive yourself or achieving forgiveness shouldn't come easy. Like, it's, in his situation, it's understandable. You feel sorry for him, but it's like, if he wants to get past it, he's going to have to try. He can't just simply sit there and numb himself with getting high, because it won't. As he's already expressed, that doesn't do anything. It doesn't change the past, nor does it. It doesn't fix what's already done. All you can do is start with today. It's not what you did in the past of like, oh, I tried before, but it failed. It's like, no, screw that. You have today. Start today, and you can slowly, change. And even if you fall back into those old habits that tomorrow, then make the next day. Like, don't settle for just like accepting things as they are. Push forward till tomorrow. Kind of like always like start with today and then slowly move forward. Is kind of what she was saying. So we ended up having that situation at the end where like Devon was trying to leave the ship, but Nyx followed him because she wanted to make sure it was okay. Then we see the whole Seers show up because they predicted what he was going to do, and they end up stabbing him because he won't give any information about where Nyx or the Raza crew is. Specifically, they're looking for Nyx because, it's like now that her brother is gone, now they need a replacement, so they need her. So I guess really when the time comes, what's going to happen most likely is she's going to get captured, or she's going to come across the Seers, and they're going to tell her, yeah, your brother Milo killed himself, so now we need you. So because the whole part of her was hoping, it's like, even if she's not with Milo, knowing that he's alive and that she can go rescue him when the time comes, that would have been enough to cement it in her mind that like everything's okay. But to find out he's dead just will probably make everything worthless. So it's like, I'm afraid like she might get to the point she's like, what's the point of living anymore? It's like, if basically I'm fine with being basically a part of an experiment, joining consciousness, because it means I don't have to solely think about the fact that my brother's gone. I mean, we see her just kind of getting past it right now. The fact is of like, oh, he's not here anymore. So like, in the sense of like, he's back with the Seer, so she was barely handling that. Like, I don't even know like how she can handle the fact that of finding out he's dead. And like, hopefully she doesn't find out. I mean, it's a situation where it's kind of like you hope she doesn't find out, but at the same time, it's probably better she finds out sooner than later. So I'm pretty sure the only one that knows he's most likely dead is 4. So, but like I said, at the end we had the whole situation with Devon getting stabbed. Nyx doesn't know about that. Like, I was hoping like maybe she'd come across him at the end of the episode. Maybe she goes looking for him and ends up finding him. But we see him there laying on the floor, just kind of like, we see his head kind of turn. So I don't know if he's dead or not. It would suck. Maybe this whole situation was supposed to be kind of his retribution moment. It's like, he screwed up when it came to that girl, but this time he won't screw up. He knows Nyx is there with him, but he didn't give her up, or the Raza crew saying where they were going. Just because he was trying to do the right thing by them. So I don't know. Hopefully he's not dead. That really suck. It's like 2 new members added to the crew, and now we're already killing off one of them. It's like we already had to live with one going. It's like you slowly kind of brought themselves to being a part of the crew, being a part of the family, and so just to lose them like that, I don't know. Something else I want to bring up this episode was the android hitting on 3 when they were about to, put themselves in the machine and clone themselves, and it's just being like, you see 3 the android kind of looking at 3 like, kind of looking him up and down and just being like, and then 3 was talking about the fact they say it's like, oh, like, it's kind of riding up him, essentially, things are tight. And then 2 joking was like, oh, you can always go naked, and he's like, really? And if I was like, ew, no, don't even think about it. And then like when he's getting up there and just you see like it looks like the android is looking at his butt and just looking him up and down, and just you see him kind of like, wait, what? Like that's what I'm interpreting that as. It's like, is that her becoming very human like, and she's just like, wow, you are just hot specimen. I mean, 4 was standing there, but she had never say anything to him. She said something specifically to 3. So I'm like, because they've had the most like advanced relationship, I guess it's because he was very kind of like whatever to the android, referring to her as a robot, but then eventually it was getting to the point where he started liking her as an android. Remember like when she upgraded herself with the personality and everything, he's like, really making these changes? I just got used to her as the android, now you want to change her? And then when she got her personality and everything, like that was the first one. She's like, oh, give a girl a compliment. She's like, was that so hard? And then slapped her on the butt. It's like, I legitimately think she might have a thing for 3. And I think that'd be so interesting to see where that would go. Like, because it kind of got brought up again this episode about her situation, because we had that guy, what's his name, Nate? I don't know if that's actually his name or not. Let's call him Nate for now. Basically, he's the dude that they got their jobs from. He was basically their handler. He passed them out jobs. He's the one that kind of sold them out in the past. I really like the fact is when he tried to run away, it's like, you're on their ship. Where do you think you're going to go? Especially because he turned around, ran forward, then kind of stopped it, turned around, and then ran back. And 2 is just looking like, and then 3 and 6 kind of look at each other like, all right, let's go get him. And then 2's laughing. She's like, thank you. It's just like, what did that idiot expect to happen? And then having Nick's kind of clothesline him like that was pretty impressive. And 6 is kind of like, oh, calm down. You could have knocked his head off doing that. But essentially, he was bringing up the fact is that obviously the tech that's in her is very black mark. It's like, oh, what's the reason why someone would put that in you? Like, yeah, I get it. Certain androids kind of make sense. It's like, especially the android is supposed to be a nanny or a babysitter or something like that. That nurturing side is necessarily, it makes sense. But in her case, it's like, considering who you're with, why would someone put that in you? She's like basically like, you know, throwing out theories like, oh, maybe it was this, maybe it was that, maybe she's part of an experiment, or maybe the person who did it was just kind-hearted and wanted to kind of give some random android more, give them essentially a human heart, kind of like the Tin Man type of situation. Give her a heart, you know, interpreting that situation. And the fact of the matter is, he brought that up. It does make you wonder, like, is that supposed to be bringing forward like more questions about what happened to her, why she is the way she is? Or is it going to be like the fact is we're setting up the fact is that he knows more about her situation than he lets on, or something like that? Or he comes across some information about her later on about like why she ended the way she did. But nevertheless, we ended up basically this episode, the main reason why he was even on the ship was because they were going after, what's her name, Alycia Renault. The lady that's been after them. We end up finding out so much information about that device that basically the thing she has is like one part of a bigger device. Essentially, it's part of a drive. And basically, this drive will basically make any ship able to go faster than FTL. But, you know, basically every ship can go, you know, faster than light, obviously. But it's like going long distances, like she basically used the example of like, hey, we can cross the entire galaxy with FTO, but it take like months. That's including us stopping to refuel and everything. But with this device, basically you can instantly like go anywhere. It's like from here to there, like to the end of the universe in like seconds because of how it works. It's, you know, this is kind of on the nerdy aspect to it, because basically my brain initially translates that as like, oh, basically it works like Goku's instant transmission technique of just like, be like if he focuses, like, you know, he focuses his mind, he could go anywhere. Essentially, it's kind of like you set a certain destination, you can be there in an instant. Granted, we did see them kind of testing it out in the episode. We see them kind of like a loud screeching sound happening, and they're all kind of grabbing their heads in pain, and the ship disappears. The kind of last time we see of it, so it's kind of like, okay, what happened? I mean, because the android was reporting like things are going wrong. I tried to shut down the device, but it's not working. So where did they end up? Did they actually go where they were wanted to go to, or not? It's just so many questions. And then there's the whole during that whole situation where they were trying to retrieve information about that, I just love that whole setup. It's just like the fact is they get there and they're about ready to leave the room, but then Five's like, "Oh, I can do everything from here. We won't even have to leave the room." And then Three's like, "Oh, it's okay. So what do you want us to do?" And she's like, "Well, you can bring up me those cookies." And he just picks the cookies up and hands them to her. She's like, "Thank you." And she's like, "Okay, what was the point of us even coming here?" You see Four pacing around. You see Three sitting down, eating some cookies, offering for some, and it's just kind of, that was just hilarious to me. And then the whole like shooting those guys, trying to buy time, he's like, "All right, kid, you got to leave us behind. I know you don't want to. Okay, I don't want to hear any complaints from you." And then Four's like, "Turn around," essentially saying, "Turn around." He turned to look. He's like, "Oh crap, she already left him behind." Obviously finding herself into a vent, which, man, she just loves vents. It's kind of like, which I can't handle. Like, I can never be behind that obsession. Like, it's where she feels most comfortable. It's kind of interesting. Like, I guess I feel like as a bigger dude, I'd get too claustrophobic. Like, that's a fear of mine, getting stuck in a vent. That just seems like the worst thing ever. But I don't know. It seemed like, definitely, especially during the first season, that was kind of her go-to place. Like, anytime she needed to get around places and around people, like the vents were her go-to place. It's kind of, I think, where she's most comfortable. Actually, it's just a tight, quiet place. But it seems like, the question kind of got brought up. The reason why Alycia is so adamant about going after them, I mean, besides the fact is what this device can do, that's kind of what they meant by the fact is that this basically could change everything, because basically this device equipped on any ship basically can change the tides of war. Essentially the war between the companies that's coming, essentially. And the fact of the matter is, you could go anywhere. You could go within the heart of your enemy's defenses and wipe out very key targets. It's so easy, and it's like understandable why Alycia is so adamant about getting it back, but also because specifically the piece that the Raza crew had, that Five had, is because those are prototypes and there's only those types. There are no more, so it's impossible for them to recreate them, especially considering the fact is Alycia didn't make it or anything like that. She stole it from somebody. So I guess the whole thing was for her to steal it from somebody else and give it, because she is a criminal herself. So I guess the whole point is like she was going to sell it to someone. So it's all about money for her. It's like they're essentially interfering with her business, and so that's kind of another reason why she's willing to kill anybody to get to it. And the fact of the matter is, we haven't seen Eric's since the last time when we ended up finding out Five duped him and gave him a fake. Like, that's the last time we saw him. So it makes you wonder, did Alycia kill him? Or is he still alive and still under her pay? Like, will we see him in the future or not? So many questions. That whole situation with Devon just sucks, but that means the Seers are going to be after them, and just with the way they operate, it's going to be pretty tough for the Raza to be able to dodge them. But granted, if this device can work and they can use it consistently, like, because the fact of the matter is, like, considering what it can do, there might be huge drawbacks. Like, it drains a lot of energy out of your ship, so you can maybe use it maybe once, twice every so often. So stuff like that could help out heavily with avoiding the Seers, because it's like very hard to track them down if they're able to bounce across a galaxy in an instant, so. Also, Alycia is not about to back down from coming after him. And then you have like the GA cops, because Chris Holden Rates, I don't remember his character's name up here. His character popped up in this episode basically because he was like, "Yep, I know who kidnapped that dude." And they ended up catching up with them later in the episode, but they were able to kind of get away. So he's going to be a thorn in their side going forward. So overall, a very good episode. Can't wait to see where we go next week. Like I said, find out like what happened with the Raza crew after they used that device and whatnot. So, but that's really all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.